Very good morning, students. How are you all? I hope you all are doing good at your homes. Today I am here with the third chapter of your book, that is Cat's Paradise. I have already shared the PDF file of the same with you. Students, open your books as today we are going to read this chapter. One thing that you have to do is you have to read the chapter silently. You have to listen to me very carefully for the pronunciation of different words. I hope you all have learnt the word meanings and the new words shared by me because they are going to be helpful. Let's start our today's chapter. The Cat's Paradise is Lost and Regained. Before beginning the chapter, let's have an introduction of the author. This story is written by Emile Zola, who was born in 1840 and died in 1902. Emile Zola was a famous French novelist and political activist. He was born in Paris, France. He published his first novel, Claude's Confession, in 1865. Zola also worked as a freelance journalist while writing. Zola's most celebrated work, L'Iron Macart, a 20-volume series, describes life and society under the Second Empire in France. Le Ventre de Paris, Germinal, and La Terre are some of his other works. Dear students, Cat's Paradise is a fable, and as I have already told you, a fable is a short story narrated by animals and it always has a moral ending. So Cat's Paradise was written originally in French as Les Paradis des Chats. It was published in 1864. Zola was a big animal lover and this story revolves around an Angora cat who yearns to live outdoors. The story shows the differences between an indoor cat and outdoor cats or tomcats as we say. Zola once rightly remarked, "The fate of animals is of far greater importance to me than the fear of appearing ridiculous." So Zola was a big animal lover and he has showcased this thing in many of his writings. So let's begin the reading of the chapter. Let me tell you that this chapter is a narration by the cat itself. So I here represents the cat. The cat is telling you its story. What happened with him when he went out for a day, leaving all his comforts. The story is set up in winters. It is winters going on. Let's start reading the story Cat's Paradise. I was then 2 years old, the fattest and most naive cat you have ever seen. At that tender age, I presumptuously disdained all the pleasures of the house and did not give thanks to Providence for having placed me with your aunt. That wonderful woman adored me. At the bottom of a wardrobe, I had a real bedroom, fitted out with a comforter and 3 blankets. The food was as good as the bed. No bread, no soup, nothing but meat, lovely red meat. Ah well, in the midst of all this sweetness, I had but one desire, one dream, to slip out of a half opened window and escape over the rooftops. Caresses seemed insipid. The softness of my bed made me feel ill. I was fat and I disgusted myself. I was bored with being happy all day long. I must tell you that by stretching my neck, I had been able to see a roof just outside the window. On that day, four cats played there on the blue tiles in the warm sun, fur bristling and tails erect, with every appearance of joy. I had never seen anything so extraordinary. From then on, I was fixed in the notion that happiness was to be found on the roofs beyond that window so carefully closed. Closed, in fact, just as carefully as the doors of the cupboard where the meat was kept. I decided to run away. There had to be other things in life besides juicy flesh. Out there was the unknown, the ideal existence. One day, someone forgot to push the kitchen window shut. I escaped onto a small roof that I found just beneath it. How beautiful were the rooftops! The large gutters along the edge exhaled delicious odors, and I stalked voluptuously down them. My paws were immersed in the fine mud, which had a certain infinite sweetness and warmth. I felt as though I was walking over velvet. The pleasant heat of the sun seemed to be dissolving my fat. I cannot hide from you the fact that I was trembling in every limb. There was something terrifying in my joy. I remember, above all, the terrible shock I felt. It actually made me lose my footing on the tiles. When three cats rolled down from the top of a house and came up to me mewing frightfully. I practically fainted, but they simply called me a fat, scaredy cat and explained that all the mewing was just a joke. So I joined in. It was delightful. These bravos weren't as fat as I was, however, and made fun of me when I slipped and rolled like a ball across the tin roof heated by the sun. One old Tom was particularly friendly. He offered to educate me, and I accepted the offer eagerly. Ah, the ease of life with your aunt was now far away. I drank from gutters, and milk with sugar had never tasted so sweet. Everything struck me as good and beautiful. A cat passed by, a gorgeous cat, and simply the sight of her touched off in me a deep and unfamiliar emotion. Only in my dreams had I ever seen such an exquisite creature with so adorably supple a back. My three companions and I dashed forward to greet her, and I was actually slightly ahead of the others in offering my compliments to this ravishing creature when one of my comrades gave me a savage bite in the neck. I emitted a howl of pain. "Bah!" said the old Tom, dragging me away. "You will see plenty more of those." After strolling for an hour or so, I developed a ferocious appetite. "What do you eat up here on the rooftops?" I asked my friend the Tom. "Whatever you can find," he replied wisely. This reply perplexed me because, hunt as I might, I found nothing. Finally, however, I spotted a young workman preparing his lunch in an attic room. On the table, just under the window, was a lovely cutlet, appetizingly red. "That's the answer," I told myself in all innocence. At that, I leaped on the table and snatched the cutlet. But the workman had seen me first and gave me a terrific blow on the back with the broom. I dropped the cutlet and scurried away, cursing under my breath. "What kind of an idiot are you?" the old Tom asked. "Food on a table is supposed to be admired only from a distance. What we have got to do is hunt in the gutters." I have never understood why food in a kitchen is off limits to cats. My stomach had begun growling seriously. The Tom put the finishing touch to my despair by saying that we needed to wait until night, when we could go down into the street and scavenge in the garbage heaps. Wait until night? He said this calmly and philosophically. As for me, I was faint at the very thought of prolonging my fast even a moment more. The night came on slowly, a night of fog that made me rigid with cold. Soon it began to rain, a fine, penetrating downpour blown about by brisk gusts of wind. We descended by way of a glassed skylight over a stairway. How shabbily the street appeared! Here there was none of that pleasant heat of the sun, the roofs gleaming white where we had languished so deliciously. My paws slipped on the greasy pavement. I thought sadly of my 3 blankets and my comforter. No sooner were we in the street than my friend, the old Tom, began to tremble. He crouched down and crept craftily along the house wall, telling me to follow quickly behind him. Arriving at a doorway, he lost no time in hiding himself, simultaneously purring with satisfaction. When I asked him what was going on, he said, "Did you see that man with the basket and the hook?" "Yes." "Well, if he had seen us, we would have been caught and roasted on a spit." "Roasted on a spit?" I cried. "The street is no place for us. You can't eat, but you can be eaten." Meanwhile, rubbish was being put out in front of doors. I rummaged through it hopelessly. 2 or 3 skinny bones that had been dragged through ashes made me realize just how succulent fresh meat can be. My friend, the Tom, pawed through the garbage with enormous artistry and made me do the same all the night long, examining every paving stone without the least sign of hurry. After nearly 10 hours of rain, I was shivering all over. Stupid street, useless liberty, how I missed my prison. In the morning, The Tom, noticing my shaky state, asked in an odd voice, "Have you had enough?" "Oh, yes," I replied. "Do you want to go back home?" "I certainly do. But how can I find it?" "Come on. The morning I saw you come out, I knew that a fat cat like you is not cut out for the joys of liberty. I know where you live. I'll show you to the door." He said all this with simple dignity, and when we arrived at the house, he bade me adieu without the least show of emotion. "No," I cried, "we cannot take leave of each other like this. Come with me. We shall share the same bed and the same food. My mistress is a wonderful woman." He didn't even let me finish. "Shut up," he said brusquely. "You are a fool. I would die in that warm softness. Your life of abundance is fine for spoiled cats. Free cats will never buy your ease and your comforter for the price of being imprisoned. Goodbye." He climbed back onto his rooftops. I saw his great thin shadow shudder with pleasure at the caresses of the rising sun. When I came home, your aunt gave me a punishment, which I received with profound joy. I revelled in being punished, and so comfortably warm. And while she cuffed me, I thought with delight of the meat she would give me directly afterwards. You see, an afterthought while stretched out before the embers. True happiness, paradise, my master, is where one is locked up and beaten, wherever there is meat. I speak for cats. So, dear students, here your story ends, and I hope you have read it and you find it interesting. Read this story 2-3 times, okay, so that when I send you a worksheet, you all are able to do it, solve it. Thank you everyone. Keep learning and keep practicing. Hope to see you all soon.